give the call to the honourable member for Moncrieff.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Resources. Yesterday, the West Australian Premier, Roger Cook, was wandering around Parliament pleading with every minister who would listen to please, please, please not cave into the Labor-left-dominated backbench on the EPBC bills. Will the minister listen to the Premier of her own state or her left-wing backbench?
No. The member for Cornwall will cease rejecting, and the member for Isaacs, the member for Goldstein. Order. The Minister for Employment, just going to, members on my right, I don't want to issue a general warning, but interjections are highly disorderly. I want to hear from the Leader of the House on his point of order.
Thanks, Mr Speaker. Practice makes clear the issues on which ministers can be questioned. Often I raise a point of order because there's one of the things in the list of the question that is out of order. On this occasion, I don't think there is anything in what was just asked that was in order. None of it refers to the responsibilities of the minister. A question about whether someone who has been a member of the left for 40 years as to whether, there is no level on which that question is not bizarre, but there is also no level in which that question is in order.
The member for Chifley will leave the chamber under 94A. Order. The member from Moncrieff is entitled to ask her question to assist the House if she can make it just relevant to the minister's portfolio. And perhaps the piece of legislation she's referring to, maybe it be with approvals or whatever the. All I'm asking is the member to just make it relevant to what the minister is responsible for, rather than a comment. So the member for Moncrieff has the call.
Mr Speaker. Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Resources. Yesterday, the West Australian Premier Roger Cook was wandering around Parliament pleading with every minister who would listen to please, please, please not cave into the Labor-left-dominated backbench on the EPBC bills. Will the minister listen to the Premier of our own state about critical minerals or her left-wing backbench here in Canberra?
The minister was asked about critical minerals, so that's fine. She's responsible for order. No, we're not having anyone behave like that. So the member's question is in order. It's a very, very, very broad question, but the minister will be able to answer regarding her portfolio. The minister has the call.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker, and thank you for that question. It's an interesting one, no doubt about it. And I'm always pleased to be asked about the critical minerals sector of this country. I'm also really pleased to be asked about how Premier Roger Cook and I and this government are on a unique ticket with the development of critical minerals in this country. And those opposite, they can interject all they want. They've referred to unhinged backbenches. Well, I can tell you where I can see them. I only need to look straight ahead, but you might need to look behind you. Order. So I might then reflect on the backbench of our party, a fine backbench. Wow. Each and every single one of these people behind me represent a Labor government that is working for the resources sector of this country, that is working for the critical minerals of this sector of this country, that is working to achieve the legislative drive of this country and this government under this Prime Minister to reach net zero emissions by 2050. Every single one of these people are all working together in the interests of this country, right around the country, whether it be Western Australia or Queensland or every place in between. They know what is good for this country because they work for this country. They listen to their communities, unlike those opposite who just listen to one another. As we well know, all we see in the newspapers from day to day is what the next argument is. And when you come into this chamber and ask me about the critical minerals sector and about the critical minerals strategy, of this government. Let's have a look at yours. The last time I looked at the critical minerals strategy issued by the opposition when they were in government in 2022, how often do you think it...
The Minister will pause. No, the member for Moncrieff is entitled to raise a point of order, and she's not going to be interjected upon.
It is around relevance because the minister was not asked about those on this side. The minister was asked about critical minerals, and the West Australian Premier wandering around begging you all to listen to.
Yeah, as I explained, it was a pretty broad brushstroke. So, if the minister can return to the critical minerals, and she is doing some compare and contrast, but for the remainder of her answer, I don't want her to just specifically talk about opposition policy because she wasn't asked about opposition policy, but she'll be allowed some leniencies because of the nature of the question.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. So, as I said before, I am more than happy to speak about critical minerals. And, of course, what we have observed in this place is how important the reforms to the EPBC Act will be for critical minerals and rare earths projects. It will be important for the framework agreement that the Prime Minister signed with President Trump just a couple of weeks ago when we were together in Washington. And it's this Labor government and these backbenchers on this side that are working toward implementing that framework, towards getting an environmental protection legislation that works for the environment, heaven forbid those opposite, but also works for industry and for the community. And what do those opposite do? Well, they do absolutely nothing. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to help the resources sector. They sure don't want to help the environment. So when you go back to your communities, ask them what they think. We will represent your communities because you are clearly not doing it. We will work in the interests of the Australian people while you just vacillate in your division and chaos for as long as you choose.